Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts like the chart behind me, which is of Matterport, ticker symbol MTTR. And so I am recording this on the morning of Wednesday, February 28th during pre-market. And the price of Matterport closed yesterday, Tuesday, February 27th, at a price of $2.16, being down just over 1% on the day, but then reclaiming most of that loss during pre-market trading, up almost 1% during pre-market. And so here we can see the chart following earnings that were reported on February 20th. And so I'm just going to go over some levels on the daily chart that do stand out to me. And so these are basically all of the levels I've gone over in previous videos. I just added this additional Fibonacci retracement here that should offer some insight for us. But before I get into that, I do want to go over some levels I went over in last week's video that did stand out as pretty important. And so one of those is based on this Fibonacci retracement here, going from the low that was hit on October 23rd up to the high that was hit on December 26th. And so that level is the 786, and that is at a price of $2.08.6. And that does seem to coincide pretty nicely with the bottom that we hit following earnings. We did have 3 days that crossed that price, so that does seem like it was a good dip buying opportunity. But with that, I do want to note that price did dip lower, hitting a low on February 23rd of $2.01, so just above $2. And actually during a live stream, I was chatting with some of you about, contemplating, is this going to hit $2? And, there's always kind of this like psychological warfare around these round number levels because a lot of retail probably has orders stacked at $2, hoping those would get filled. And this was just kind of a tease. So a lot of us are left, not having those orders filled. And so I do find that pretty interesting. And so hopefully, you all were able to buy the dip and weren't waiting to, grab at $2. But it is quite possible we will be revisiting that level. So it's always good to be patient and always good to kind of, place orders in like quarter positions, I guess you could say. So if, I want to have a full position established at $2 a share, maybe I'll do a quarter of a position at $2.05, or, based on this level here at $2.09, and then add another quarter or 3/4, maybe at $2, or, another quarter at $2, another quarter at, this Fibonacci extension from this retracement here, that's the 1618, and that is at a price of $1.89.3, so maybe at $1.90, and then, maybe returning to this low at $1.84. So it's always tough to do that, average into positions or DCA adding into positions over time. But, I think this is a nice example of if your level's not hit, good to maybe add a smaller portion of what you had wanted to at a slightly higher price. And so just for me, I don't believe I did that. Maybe I added some at 209, but my additions are pretty small. So, you do what works for you. I average in very slowly with my orders. But anyways, really, based on this extension, those are pretty much all of the levels that I do want to go over. I should point out, while we have it zoomed out, that at $2.56, there was a little gap here that's based on the low of January 2nd, and we almost got to that. We actually did a double top at exactly $2.54, so just 2 cents below that. So we hit $2.54 on February 12th as well as February 20th. And then we did, following earnings, take quite a tumble. And so I'm just going to go over the levels here that do stand out as potentially being resistance on the way up, but then also might serve as support if we do pull back, which I do suspect we will pull back a little bit. And so here from this Fibonacci retracement that I did from the 20th down to the low of the 23rd, what we can see from that is, basically the low here at $2.01. And it does look like we have been rejected from the 382 at a price of $2.21.2 We did have two wicks going up to that level being hit on February 26th and 27th, so Monday and Tuesday of this week. And what strikes me as being, like we're suggesting that we're going to see a reversal is that on the 27th, we got a wick higher, but we got a close lower. And so what we need to see is closes above these wicks to suggest that there are still buyers stepping in above these highs. We are not losing that momentum as we get higher. And so that's in fact what we did not see yesterday on the 27th. We saw a loss of momentum, no buyers stepping in above Monday's high, which was $2.22. And that does coincide very nicely with these two levels here, not only the 382, but also the 786 from this retracement going to the upside at a price of $2.22.6. And so that level was actually hit yesterday with a high of $2.23. And so I do suspect that we will be seeing a pullback. Hopefully we can find support right around $2.14 or $2.13, which coincides with the 236 from the retracement down, as well as the 100% retracement, the bottom here at $2.14. If we cannot hold $2.13, maybe we get some wicks below it, but no closes below it, that would be good. But if we do see a close below 213, I do think that we will be revisiting this orange level at $2.08.6 or $2.08 or 9 cents. But if we can't hold that, if we do get closes below $2.08, I do think $2.01 is back on the table and potentially $2 a share. So it is still quite possible those orders that were not filled before could be filled in the next week or two. So do keep that in mind. Also, I do want to point out that I did have these two orange lines highlighted as prior support that were at $2.19 as well as $2.25. Does look like those are acting as resistance now. But hopefully we can claim $2.13 as support before pushing through those purple levels, and then claim the 382 here at $2.21 as support before continuing higher. And levels that do stand out to me are, that might serve as resistance as we do push up, as we do make these steps higher. The 50% retracement from the way down is at a price of $2.27.5, which does seem to coincide pretty nicely with the 618 retracement from over here, and that is at a price of $2.29.3. And if I do throw up the volume profile, that does also coincide with this volume shelf here. We are going to be bumping our heads right around $2.27. So do keep that in mind. If we do get another leg up, we will likely retrace from that, returning to right around $2.22, ideally with that then acting as support before continuing higher, like to eclipse the high that was over here. Let me just remove the retracements here. The high that was hit on February 21st, so following earnings, was $2.33. So that's actually a key level that we need to close above now. That would put this bearish, drop that we saw behind us. And so currently we don't have buyers stepping in above the price of like $2.21. That was the open price on February 21st. So once we start to see closes above that level, that suggests there's a little bit more strength, but really we need to see buyers stepping in above $2.33, the high on the 21st, when we following the gap down. And actually that gap level to be filled is based on the low of the 20th, and that is at a price of $2.38. So hopefully we can move up to that level, but as you note, the volume shelf does tend to dissipate around that level. So if we can get back up to the open from the 20th, which was at a price of $2.46, that would actually really getting back to the close, because that was the last price that we saw during trading hours, getting back to the close on the 20th. That would actually be at a price of $2.54, this high here. Once we get back to that level, that would not only completely fill that gap from the close of that day to the open on the 21st, but that would also be getting back to this double top. And so if we can get back to that level and then retrace to right around here where this volume shelf is, that would be at a price of $2.38. If we can get back to that level and that act as support, then I think there's a shot at us getting back to 254, reclaiming that level as support. And if we do draw back, if we don't pull back to $2.38 here at the low of the 20th, potentially the 786 from this retracement could serve as support at $2.42.7, but really more likely I do think that will act as resistance before we do find support at $2.38, and then continue higher for $2.54 and reclaiming this gap at $2.56. So I do think there's a lot of upside for Matterport over the course of the next week or two, but I do think that we need to retrace a little bit before continuing higher, and then to reclaim this volume shelf here at $2.27.5. It's going to be tough for us to get through that, but I do think there's a lot of hope and there's a lot of upside. But first, we need to find our footing. But those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching.